time is 8:44. Welcome back. Joining us to go through what's making the news this morning is Christopher Biggins and Dawn Neeson. And Christopher Biggins, should we start with the King's Wave of Hope, which is on the front page of many of the papers today?
Yes.
It's good to see him looking so well.
It is. And I tell you what, I think he's marvellous what he's doing. I mean, he's, doing very well, and he's publicised it. And I think he said that he's thankful to everybody who's been in touch, sending messages of goodwill, and you'll get through this. But I think he's highlighting what it is that he has, or, showing the public that even he can cope with it. And giving faith to everybody else who is in this terrible situation. I mean, cancer is a terrible, terrible thing, which we still have masses of.
Just an awful blooming disease, really.
It is. It is.
Talk about coping, not coping with a situation. A young girl, a 6-year-old Palestinian girl, whose last phone call was shared with the world, has now been found dead.
It is so sad, this story. I mean, she begged, save me, and they couldn't get to her in time before her and her family, her cousins, her aunt and uncle, and even the people who were trying to find her to save her, all were killed.
The ambulance crew.
I know, it's just awful. How can this go on?
Well, we know this is going. We know that thousands of children are dying. But it's when you get one personal story of this little girl and that last phone call where she's begging for help that just really brings it home, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like, you need that personal story rather than the figures. It's just horrific.
And you hear that voice and you just imagine what she went through.
Just 6. I mean, how do you even cope?
Just 6 years old. Just awful.
Dawn, the Times are carrying a story today, and they talk about NHS staff. Now, the proportion of NHS staff who are not UK nationals has hit a record high.
It has, indeed.
1 in 5, 20%.
Yes, indeed. Majority are Indian, Filipino, Nigerian and Irish. We just have, as we know, I mean, the NHS is in crisis and we don't have enough people.
But sorry, I don't see how that says the NHS is in crisis. It just says that 1 in 5 of the staff are not...
Because we're not recruiting... Well, the crisis is we're not recruiting enough people in this country and we're not retaining enough people. What is so wrong with the NHS that the workforce isn't being retained? We know that we have nurses and doctors who are offered better careers in places like Australia and New Zealand, and they go to... and Canada is another one. They go to... What is so wrong with the NHS that we can't retain the staff that you and I, the taxpayer, pay to train up, that they have to go elsewhere? There is something going horribly wrong, and we're cutting back. Immigration is a huge problem facing both political parties, the main political parties, and the mass immigration, and people are concerned about that, but we need this immigration because otherwise the NHS and the care system in particular is going to fall apart. Something's got to give.
No, it's...
But the thing is, do you know of anyone who undertakes a career in the NHS? You see, I think you've got to make these jobs, even if they're not attractive, seem attractive, and they should be attractive, Dawn. They should be paid a proper rate to make them attractive.
This is the problem. This is the problem. And in particular, the care structure, because this comes under the NHS umbrella as well. We do not respect people that work in that industry. And if we improve the care system, we paid carers who do an incredible job what they should be paid, then it was sort of like, but we don't. Instead, we pay managers £200,000, diversity managers in the NHS, rather than paying the people on the front line who are actually looking after our health, the nurses, the care system in particular.
I always felt, though, that people didn't care what they earned in that job because they were doing it because it was a wonderful job to do.
Yeah, but it's vocation, but you want to put food on the table.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, of course, of course. I mean, and they should be paid a lot more than they are. And I agree totally with what you've been saying. But it is a problem because, there is this feeling that they are there doing a job which is terribly important. If they go on strike, people will die.
Well, and yeah, we have junior doctor strike going on 24th to 28th of February. So after the strike earlier this month as well.
Yeah. Do you think there's a glimmer of hope in that they could come to a deal before then? They said they'd be open to getting back round the table before then.
Well, that's a good question for Rishi tonight on the People's Forum.
Yes.
Certainly is. Christopher Biggin, should we look at something totally different here? Bagpuss, turning 50.
I know, and the son of Bagpuss co-creator Oliver Postgate is saying that the BBC were wrong to axe this popular children's series after the first series of just 13 episodes.
What, did they then return to it, or are there only 13?
They must have, because there were a lot more than 13 episodes. And,
well, either that or they just repeat the same ones over and over.
well, that's true, but I think they must have gone to another company, I think. It doesn't say that. But it was, in 1999, a poll by the BBC voted the all-time favourite children's programme.
Ellie just went, did you ever watch Bagpuss, Ellie?
Yeah, well, I don't know if I've ever watched it, but it's certainly
You're
familiar
aware
to
of
me.
it.
I'm aware of it.
Yeah.
I wasn't that keen on it.
No, I mean, we didn't like it, did we, Biggins?
No.
Did you not?
No.
Sorry.
Partly due to the fact you were 27 at the time. That's probably why you
That's
weren't-
true.
Yes.
I've never been keen on pussy.
No, I'm sure.
Bagpuss.
But there are... I remember in my day we had Watch with Mother, and there was the wooden tops, and there was Andy Pandy. Couldn't stand Andy.
No, I hated Andy Pandy.
What's the point of Andy Pandy?
I couldn't agree more.
What is an Andy Pandy?
What is an Andy Pandy? Nothing to do with us.
Loopy Loo.
Loopy Loo, I quite liked.
Yes, that's it.
We had Rosie and Jim. You know Rosie and Jim?
What are you doing?
They lived on a narrow boat, and they were a bit creepy, to be honest with you.
I'm afraid I love Blue Peter, you see. We were talking about that earlier. I mean, Blue Peter was
good, yeah.
just
It's
wonderful.
Rosie and Jim.
This is Rosie and Jim, and they lived on a narrow boat.
No, I never liked them either.
Well, I mean, if you think they were creepy, did you ever catch up on the Clangers? What was that about?
Yeah.
What drugs were you on?
Whistle.
Are they the
whatever,
mice?
so-
No.
No,
Well, yeah, they were sort of like...
They lived in craters on the moon.
Yeah, they were sort of with a soup dragon.
What drug were they
A
on?
good one was called Tales of the Riverbank.
Oh, with Ratty.
Yeah.
And
they-
Molly.
and so they were all real animals that Johnny Morris did the voices to.
Yeah, I love Johnny Morris.
Yes.
God, he was fantastic.
And the Wombles. That was a good
Dawn,
one.
you want to talk to us about some real animals here, seals.
This is lovely. There's some lovely pictures to go with this story,
Yeah.
which I really hope we've got. Nature finds a way. It's a great line from Jurassic Park. This is a grey seal colony has been established itself at a former Cold War weapons testing site on the Suffolk coast. More than 130 grey seal pups have been born at Orford Nest, which is a remote shingle spit. It's great up there. It's beautiful. This breeding season alone, and it
Look
used
at
to be.
them.
Oh,
used
they're
to be-
so cute.
They are.
Oh, they're
cute. Absolutely.
adorable.
Look at that. Look.
Beautiful.
But it used to be a weapons testing site, and so it just goes to show that goodness can come out of something that's frankly quite scary. Look at that one; that's so sweet. If you're listening on the radio, that's a cute, fluffy white seal pup rolling around on a beach
With
Sweet
mummy
news
or
on a
daddy
Monday
in the
morning.
background.
They
Yes.
look very chill, don't they? They don't move very fast. They just kind of lay back. Well,
I suppose if you were built like that, you wouldn't move very fast, would you?
I suppose that's a very good point. Yeah, the big lumps, aren't
There is,
they? Really?
there is
Very
no
cute
chance.
Big lumps.
There's no chance of Ellie ever being built like that, is there? Come on.
Neither would you, darling.
It's just a nice story, isn't
Yeah.
it?
It is a nice
Yeah.
story.
Not so nice for Eric Idle. Eric Idle, who was one of the Monty Python gang, and he wrote the theme music for One Foot in the Grave.
He did, and
I never knew that.
No, he didn't die. What did you
No,
say?
I didn't know he
Yeah.
wrote One Foot in the Grave, the
He
theme
wrote-
music.
He wrote the music for the-
Really?
Yeah. Well, this is, I mean, obviously Monty Python. I mean, it's very sad when such a great group of comedy writers and performers fall out. They're all in their 80s now, and Eric Idle, and a series of, frankly, insane tweets, has said that he's basically skint, still having to work for a living at 80, and claiming that the money coming in from the Monty Python back catalogue, which is amazing, it's hardly anything anymore. He says it's a disaster, which is such a shame. It's so sad to read. They've all fallen out with one another for a start, and they're all now complaining about one another.
But none of us get any money from all those years and years ago. I mean, I don't know what he's complaining about.
So, porridge on Saturday night.
Yeah,
Are you paid for that?
Yes.
Oh, what are you moaning about?
No,
now?
let me tell you what I get paid. £14.
£14?
Yeah.
Well, you were very good. Very good for best £14 spent.
My original fee was £90 an episode, and then when they used to repeat it on BBC One and BBC Two, I used to get over 1,000. But now they repeat it on these strange channels.
Yes.
You get nothing, absolutely
minimum wage,
nothing.
I think.
What?
It's about minimum wage.
Oh, it's terrible. I mean, I get so angry about it. I don't want to talk about it. I mean, it just drives me mad. But I mean, you know, if you do something in America, my friend B. Arthur, who did Golden Girls, is a multimillionaire. Was a multimillionaire. It's through it.
No, don't be jealous. Thank you very much indeed, Biggins and Dawn Neeson. Thank you. Very enjoyable. Here's Jonathan with the weather.